Sometimes brands think launching on Amazon starts the day their product goes live. It doesn't. By the time your listing is active, you're actually already about 2 months in. There's a lot of steps and decisions that have to be made before you go live, and if you didn't execute those 2 months correctly, your launch is already behind before it starts. Here's what those 3 months actually look like for brands starting to sell on Amazon for the first time. In this video, I'll walk you through the exact steps and timeline involved in getting set up and launching on Amazon, what approvals and steps you need to have completed before you can even think about going live, when inventory needs to be sent in and how that fits into the overall timeline, and what actually happens on launch day and in the weeks that follow to give your product the best chance of gaining traction. This video isn't going to teach you exactly how to do each of these steps. That would take a lot of separate videos for that. This is just so you can see the full timeline, how long each phase usually takes, so you can know what to expect as your company goes through this process. I do have more in-depth videos on a lot of the topics I cover here. I'll also link to a lot of those videos in the description too, so you can refer back to them. Most brands assume getting on Amazon is a lot faster and easier than it really is. You may already have your product line with inventory ready to go, so it feels like it should be as simple as copying things over from your website and going live in a few days. But Amazon doesn't work like that. Before a single listing goes live, there are approvals you have to get through, verification steps, safety and compliance requirements, programs to enroll in, a lot of design and writing, and inventory to plan and ship. A lot of that isn't visible to the customer who eventually finds your product, but all of it has to happen first. Think of it like building a house. What a buyer sees is the finished product, the walls, the roof, the front door. What they don't see is everything that came before it. The planning, the permits, the inspections, the foundation work. None of that shows up in the finished house, but skip any of it and the whole thing is delayed or has a lot of problems you have to fix later. Launching on Amazon works the same way. Going live is move-in day, and this video covers everything that has to happen before you get there, plus what that first month actually looks like once you do. So let's start at the very beginning. I've broken the process into 3 stages. Stage 1 is account setup and approvals. Stage 2 is pre-launch preparation, and Stage 3 is the actual launch. The full timeline from starting your seller account to being live and going through that first month of launching is roughly 3 months. It can, of course, take a lot longer than that, but that's usually what I see on projects we're working on. That means about 2 months of work before the launch, and then I'm including 1 month of time after the launch. Let's go through stage 1. The first thing you need to do is to create your company's Amazon seller account. Amazon requires business documentation to get started, things like a bank statement, credit card statement, and a passport for whoever is listed as the main point of contact on the account. You'll fill out a large form and then go through a facial recognition process so Amazon can verify that you're a real business and that the person responsible for the account is a real person. And the process can drag out for weeks or even months if it's not done correctly. I have a separate video that walks through this in detail, and I'd recommend at least watching that before you start. Going through it correctly the first time makes a big difference. Once you submit everything, Amazon typically responds within 2 to 4 business days. If you're approved, then great, you can move on to the next steps. If you're rejected, figuring out why and resubmitting can take a lot longer than most brands expect if the person dealing with it hasn't really worked with Amazon a lot before. If you're stuck on that part, feel free to comment or reach out. If it's something I can help with via messaging, I'll do that. Otherwise, you can always book a paid consultation with a member of my team. They go through these applications all the time and can review everything with you, help you fill it out, and make sure everything is ready to get approved the next time. Once your account is verified, you can start in the approvals. These are separate applications, and some of them can be worked on at the same time as each other. Most of them can also be worked on while you're building out your listing content, which we'll get to in a minute. There are a few required approvals that almost every brand will need to get through. The first is brand name authorization. Now, this is Amazon verifying that your brand name is a real brand name and that you have the right to use it. This needs to be done before most of the other approvals can move forward. Make sure at this step not to list your products without a brand name. I have a whole video on why that's a bad idea. Right alongside this, most brands should also pursue brand registry. This requires a trademark serial number with the USPTO. Once you're brand registered, you get access to A+ content, a brand store, sponsored brand ads, and usually a referral fee rebate in your first year on Amazon. Almost always you should get brand registered if you're able to go through the steps to qualify. And if you don't have a trademark yet, it's usually worth getting one specifically so you can get brand registered. The reason I'm mentioning it here is that brand registry affects several of the decisions and approvals that follow, including the next one. The next one is related to your product barcodes. Once brand name authorization or brand registry is in place, you'll need to list your products using UPC codes. When you do, Amazon's system goes and checks those codes against the GS1 database. That's the organization that issues UPC codes. If the name the codes are registered under doesn't match your brand name exactly, Amazon may flag it and you'll have to submit additional documentation showing that you're actually affiliated with that registered name. If you don't have UPC codes at all, you can either purchase them through GS1 or apply for a G10 exemption, which allows you to list products without UPC codes. One thing worth knowing here, if you use FBA, and most brands will, Amazon now requires brand registry in order for them to use your UPC codes in their warehouses. If you're not brand registered, Amazon will require you to put new Amazon-specific barcodes on all of your inventory instead. For most product brands, that adds up to a significant cost, so this is another strong reason to get brand registered as early as possible. The third is category approval. Most categories require it now, and for a lot of them, it's a fairly quick process, especially if you already have everything Amazon wants to see on hand. But certain categories can take longer. Dietary supplements, grocery, toys, and personal care products are some that I see commonly require extra documentation and more time. Supplements in particular require that you have one of Amazon's specific partner labs either test your products or certify the testing you did at another lab. Then they have to go to Amazon and tell them that you've met the requirements. Depending on the specifics and how busy the labs are, this can move the timeline back a bit. If you're in that category, I'd try to start this process as soon as possible. The fourth is hazmat approval, which is most commonly required for products that contain a battery. If that applies to your product, you have to give Amazon your SDS sheets and have them approve them before you can send inventory into FBA. If your product is flagged as being potentially hazmat, but it isn't, then you have to fill out and submit an exemption sheet. While approvals are in progress, this is also the time to make some key decisions that will affect everything that follows. The first is FBA versus FBM. Whether Amazon fulfills your orders from their warehouses or whether you handle shipping the orders yourself. This affects your costs, your margins, your eligibility for certain programs, so it's worth thinking through carefully. For a lot of products, being in FBA could also double or triple your sales volume, so it's a big decision. The second decision is whether you're going to get brand registered or not. That will affect a lot of the capabilities and launch strategies you'll be able to choose from. If you're using FBA, you'll also need to decide whether your products will use UPC codes or Amazon barcodes. And as I mentioned, using UPC codes requires being brand registered. The fourth decision is how many products to launch with. Most brands are better off starting with a small number of products, getting the process down, building the right systems, and then adding more products into Amazon. Launching a large number of products all at once adds a lot of complexity before you've had the chance to learn how Amazon works and how to coordinate all the different teams in your company together to sell on Amazon. However, for some brands, because of the types of products they sell, starting with a small catalog doesn't make sense. And the final big decision is your launch strategy, which we'll cover in more detail in just a moment. While you're working through approvals, it's also worth going through Amazon's optional programs and identifying which ones apply to your brand. There are quite a few of them, things like the New Seller Incentives Program, NSI Plus for brands that already have a big following or Amazon thinks they will have a lot of potential, the FBA New Selection Program, and some others. Not all of them will be relevant to every brand, but some of them offer great financial benefits, so it's worth knowing that they're available. The New Seller Incentives, for example, give you a $1,000 ad credit that you can use. You'll want to make sure you go through the steps and plan the process so you qualify for these programs. For brands that work with my team, because we are Amazon verified service providers, we're able to recommend clients for certain programs and help them get enrolled, including one program that gives new brands a higher tier of Amazon support for their first year, which has been really valuable for resolving issues that would normally drag on for months through regular seller support. At the same time that approvals are in progress, you'll want to be building out all of the content that customers will see on your listing. This is stuff like the keyword research for the titles, bullet points, product descriptions, creating the listing images up at the top of the listing, A+ content, and a brand story, along with your branded storefront. One thing I want to flag here, even if you already have great images from your website or other marketing channels, you're most likely going to want to redesign them a bit specifically for Amazon. Images on your own regular website usually rely on the surrounding page and the website itself to do the explaining, the copy, the layout, the headings. On Amazon, the images themselves need to explain everything. Customers just swipe through them, and those images are often the only thing they look at when they're deciding whether to buy your product or a competitor. So most brands end up creating a new set of images specifically built for the Amazon listing format. Now, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to go and do new photo shoots, but you'll probably have to add text and icons, crop the images differently, and maybe add a lot of other information into those images while still making them look attractive and match your branding. A-plus content and a brand story should also be ready from day one for most brands. And everything, including the title, the bullet points, the backend keywords, need to be built out with Amazon's search algorithm in mind and their Cosmo AI in mind. At this point, before moving out of stage one, you need to decide on the launch strategy. Now, there's a lot more to it than I'm going to explain here, but I'll say there are three main approaches. The first is a basic go live approach. Listings go live once the inventory arrives, and standard Amazon ads will run from there. This is simple and lower cost, but usually slower to build momentum. However, it might be the only thing a new brand can afford, and for brands that are already doing a lot to promote their products outside of Amazon, it may be all they need because they're already doing so much else. The second is an aggressive blitz strategy. This is where you can plan a specific launch date, get reviews before going live, and use every promotional tool available. The creator connections campaigns, influencer campaigns, launch discounts, and ads, all firing at once, right when you launch. This leads to a higher upfront cost, but has the best chance of generating some early momentum. The third is a hybrid approach. It's a combination of the two where you pick and choose the elements that make the most sense for your brand and your budget. Now, the exact right approach depends on the brand, the category, and of course your budget, but this decision needs to be made here in stage one because the execution starts in stage two, the pre-launch stage. The first thing you want to do here is send your inventory into FBA, assuming you're going to be using FBA. If you're going to be using FBM instead, the operational setup is a separate process. Before you ship anything, you need to make sure your listings are set up to use the correct barcode type, whether that's UPC codes, which Amazon refers to as manufacturer barcodes, or Amazon barcodes. Getting that wrong can lead to several unnecessary problems. You'll also need to create a shipping plan inside Seller Central, and this is a step where it's really easy to make expensive mistakes even if you're paying close attention. I do recommend actually having someone who has done this many times walk you through it the first time. I'm planning to make a video walking through this shipping plan process in detail. Also, if you message me or you go to 5starcommerce.com, you can always pay $110 for an hour with one of the experts on my team to walk you through this live on a video call your first time. Either way, once you ship Amazon the inventory, small parcel shipments typically start being available for sale within just a few business days. LTL shipments can take anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. During peak seasons, that can stretch to an even longer time frame, so it's worth building some buffer into your timeline. The product listings will go live automatically once the inventory starts getting checked in, unless you manually go in and put in a release date on each of the listings in the offer tab. Once your inventory is at Amazon, this is when you can set up Amazon Vine. You do need the inventory there first, but you can enroll before the listings go live. Vine is a program where you pay $200 per product to send up to 30 units to Amazon's top reviewers, and you could pay less if you wanted to just offer 2 units or such. If you're planning out a specific launch date, the goal is to have some reviews already on the listing before you go live. You can also enroll in Vine after going live if the timing doesn't work out. It just depends on your approach. Note that Vine isn't always the right move for every product. These reviewers aren't necessarily the same type of customers that would buy the product, and sometimes they can be a little bit more picky. For some products, you may actually choose to skip it entirely and just get reviews the regular way. This is also when you can get your automated review request set up. After every order, Amazon allows you to send one follow-up message asking the customer to leave a review. Setting this up before launch means it's running from day one. You can do this manually each day, but I recommend Sellerboard for this. It handles the review request automatically, and it also tracks all of your Amazon fees, revenue, and associated cost all in one place, which matters a lot on Amazon where the fees can add up in ways that are easy to lose track of. It's only $19 a month, and there's a referral link in the description for a 2-month free trial instead of the standard 1 month. And finally, if you're running a Creator Connections or Stack Influence campaign as part of your launch strategy, this is when those get set up. You'll want to set up your Creator Connections campaigns, meet with the Stack Influence team to have everything ready to go, and then wait for everything to start until the launch date. If your brand is active on other channels, email, social media, paid ads, this is the time to align all of that with your Amazon launch date so everything goes out together right around launch. Once your inventory is checked in and available, you're ready to go live. If you're doing a basic go live approach, your listings may already be live at this point. If you're running a hybrid or blitz strategy, this is when everything starts firing at once. Your ads go live, creator posts go out, your discount runs, and if you used Vine, you already have some reviews on the listing. From day one, you want sponsored product ads running. Early on, the goal isn't necessarily profitability, it's getting as many unit sales as you can. You're finding out which keywords are actually converting, and you're showing the algorithm that people like your product. Expect your ad costs to be pretty high in the beginning. That's normal, and it does improve as your listing builds history. In terms of budget, $500 a month is really the minimum worth spending to get any meaningful volume going. Larger brands may want to start at $2,000 to $3,000 a month to generate momentum faster. That works out to roughly $65 to $100 a day. And obviously for very large brands, they might start way higher than that. The early weeks of sales history carry a lot of weight, which is why everything we've covered in stage 1 and stage 2 exist, to make sure that when you go live, you're set up to convert. That first month is going to involve a lot of monitoring, adjusting, and troubleshooting. Things come up, listings get flagged, ads need to be refined, inventory levels need to be watched. It's an active month, not a passive one. Now, after that first month, the focus shifts to ongoing optimization, scaling what's working, expanding your ads campaigns, continuing to build reviews, managing your inventory, and then eventually getting it to where your revenue compared to your cost start to come to a manageable level. That's a whole separate phase and outside the scope of this video, but just know that the launch is just the starting line, not the finish line. Now that you have a clear picture on what the first 3 months look like, one of the most important things to understand before you start selling is exactly how Amazon's fee structure works, because there are a lot of fees and they can add up faster than most brands expect. In my next video, I break down Amazon's largest fees, the ones that come out of every single sale you make, and will take up the largest percentage of your revenue. If you're going to sell on Amazon, you need to understand these before you start. Click right here to watch that next.